This is to go over the warm-ups from 9.6 day 2. So one of the key things that you're working on is non-calculator skills in order to calculate some of these mental math geometry values. So you want to look for multiples of things like 30s, 45s, 10s, things that you can factor out of both the numerator and denominator and simplify. So as we go through number 1, I see 243 sixtieths, and I know that those are both multiples of 120, so I'm really doing 2 120s, 3 120s. And there are other ways to simplify these besides the order that I'm going in. I know that 48 and 3 have a factor of 3 in common, so then I'm left with 32 pi when I simplify. So these are mimicking or demonstrating a way that when you get your arc length set up that you can calculate. 135 3/60ths, I recognize 135 as a set of 45 degree angles, and there are lots of 45 degree angles in a full circle when you think that there's 2 for every 90 degree angle. So there's 3 45 degree angles in 135, and there are 8 45 degree angles in a full circle. So now I've reduced my work to 3/8 of 64 pi. We know that 64 divided by 8 is 8. And final answer on that one, 24 pi. Number 3, I'm just looking at the fact they're both multiples of 10 in my numerator and denominator, but also that 30 degree angles could form both of those 150 and 180 degree numbers. So I'm going to reduce by 30 degrees for each. So if I reduce by 30 degrees, there are 5 30 degree angles compared to 6 30 degree angles. So now I'm calculating 5/6 of 24 pi. So therefore 24 divides by 6, 4 times, 5 times 4, 20 pi. Again, going through just some of those basic algebra calculations. Number 4, you want to set up an arc length problem. So the arc length that they're interested in is that 240 degree one. So as we go do that, 240 3/60ths is 2/3. And as they set up the entire circle's circumference, it would be pi times diameter, or 32 feet. As I go to calculate that, I'm recognizing that 32 and 3 have no common factors. So 2/3 is simplified. 32 can't be reduced with 3 either. And therefore, I'm going to get 64 thirds. Oops, I lost my pi in here. Oh my gosh, 32 pi. So 64, and that's hugely important. Number 5, when I go to find the arc length, they gave this to me in radians, and we are not doing radians, so you're going to skip number 5. Number 6, we're not doing, because again, radian measure. So when you go to look at number 7 then, they gave us the arc length as 116 pi meters. What's the radius of the circle? So if major arc, ROT, is what they're talking about as 116 pi for the arc length, they would like the radius of the circle. So first I need its arc measure. So its arc measure is 240 degrees, or it is taking up 2/3 of the circle. So 2/3 of, and they're asking me for radius, so instead of circumference's formula pi d, I'm going to put in 2 pi r so that my equation solves for radius. Or you could solve for diameter first and then turn that around and divide by 2. So here's what I know. So doing a little bit of division on both sides and a little cleanup work, I've got 4/3. I could divide by pi on both sides. So 4/3 of radius is, again, dividing by pi on both sides, 116 meters. Then I want to multiply both sides by 3/4 so that I can solve for radius. Now here's where that skill comes in. 116 and 4 definitely have a factor of 4 in common. 100 has a factor of 4, and so does 16. So I'm looking at 29 and 1. 29 times 3 is like 30 times 3, except I'll have to take 1 off for each of those. So I'm looking at 87 meters. Make sure you've got a unit label. So I'll leave this up for a moment. It's the same thing, but it kind of reminds you and talks to you about the things I was thinking about, different angles of different sizes. Again, radian measure, we are going to hold off and wait until next year when you take Advanced Algebra Trig to do radians, not because you couldn't handle it, but because just over time we've decided to handle it that way. Again, pause the video where you need to see things. Again, crossing off number 8. As we go now, the last part then is to check your homework from 9-6 day 1 and see what kinds of questions you have, because there's another question video where you can go look. So on number 7, again, correcting homework, number 22, and number 24. So pause the video here, take a look at the solutions, and then you can go to that solutions video to continue to improve your homework.